Alright, the normal flying speed of the duck is 400. So let's just try a little bit more. This has taken ages, but we finally have flying and T-posing ducks that will flee from the player. Once you enter their alert ranges, they will start to follow a path. Depending on the distance between the duck and the player, the duck will speed up or slow down. When the distance is really big, the duck will land and start moving around its landing place until the player enters its alert range again. If you get ahead of the duck, it will change directions to try to avoid the turtle. So you cannot just charge past the duck and wait for it to fall into your hands. The goal is to hit the duck. As a reward, you will receive a key. Animations for the duck will be added in the future. That said, I put some time into working on the level itself, mainly on the landscape and stones. Lots of stones. The main difficulty with creating the stone assets is that a 3D platformer requires really precise collisions, and in Unreal Engine, and probably most other game engines, these collisions have to be in a convex shape, due to performance reasons. So I made stones in simple shapes for the reachable parts of the level, and stones with more detailed shapes for the background. Then the next problem is, how do I make the simple shaped stones look good together with the more detailed ones? And I think I have to remove some of the detail of the stone meshes again. Maybe it will be enough to just change the texture to a more simple one. Do you know what I really hate in games? Invisible walls. So I thought to myself, what is a better way to limit the level? In the case of the island level, there has to be a limit to how far you can swim away from the island. Let's see what happens if we go really far out into the ocean. That's right, the shark will act as a level wall. Now I don't want the player to just die for trying to swim away from the island. Therefore the shark will spawn at some distance away, and if you try to swim back to the island, then it will stop chasing you and despawn. However, if you ignore this warning, it will come to eat you. The underwater part of the level will now also feature these fountains that emit air, that can be used to replenish the turtle's oxygen level. I've worked on some of the collectibles in the game. Currently there are the keys that I've introduced in the previous DevLog, but also other ones. The most common being the coins that can be found practically everywhere in the level. Sooner or later you will be able to trade these coins for something when you progress through the game. Then there are the balloons. When you destroy all, you will receive a key. The key will spawn at the last balloon's location, but don't worry, it can't float like the balloon, it will fall down. As the last collectible, there are the bird nests, and right now I do not know what reward the player will receive for collecting all of them. Maybe access to a bonus stage or small power up. If you have any ideas, please post them in the comments. All of these collectibles will be shown in the user interface, either via the press of a single button or in the pause menu. Also we have watermelons that restore health. Right now, one watermelon restores exactly 1 health. I will probably change this so you have to collect a few of them to heal. Putting 1 watermelon in each box would make the game too easy if they heal 1 health point each. The pause menu has multiple options which are mostly self-explanatory. The restart will load the game from the last checkpoint, and if you click on options, you will get the game options. There aren't many options here yet, but there will be added plenty in the future for things like audio, graphics and key bindings. I've also set up a startup menu level that will be accessed every time the game is launched. Here you can select a save slot. Upon selecting an empty save slot, a new save file will be created and the game will begin with the first level. Now after talking about all the technical stuff of the game, let's go back to the fun stuff. There will be overlap volumes placed in the level that will, upon overlap with the player, change the camera perspective and make the game feel more cinematic. For example, the part where you have to avoid the cannon fire while jumping from platform to platform, or the part where you climb the tower. The camera will move along a set path and choose the location on the path that is the closest to the player. I also added some additional overlap volumes, which will make the camera switch from the player to a given location for the duration of the overlap. This can be used mainly to foreshadow some of the obstacles the player has to overcome. There is also a second camera class that is simpler. It contains a camera that can be switched to by either overlapping with an overlap volume or by being called by another actor. I use this for things like showing the key spawn location once a challenge has been completed. The camera class has many options on how to handle the camera switch. For example, there is an option to automatically switch back to the turtle's main camera after a set duration. The main difficulty with switching the cameras is controlling the movement direction when I blend from one camera to the other. if the player, for example, presses the forward button and the camera changes. In the worst case, he could even run into the opposite direction. To work around this, any movement inputs that are held before the camera change occurs will gradually be interpolated to the new movement direction given by the new camera. To make the platforming better, I wanted to include some variety, and one of the best places to start with that in a game about jumping is the jump itself. This is done with trampolines and boxes. Both will give you a jump boost, and the boost will be even bigger if you hold the jump key while jumping on them. While the trampolines cannot be destroyed, the boxes can. Some boxes can be destroyed by jumping on them, while others can be destroyed only by hitting them. In the future I will of course make a second 3D model for the boxes so that it will be clear which box does what. There are also some subtle mechanics with the jump that may not be obvious. First, there is a small time after walking off a platform in which you can still jump. This makes the jumping feel more intuitive and gives you a small safety net for when you press the button too late. Also, you can alter the jump height by holding the button instead of tapping it. The longer it is held, the higher you will jump, but of course there is a maximum jump height. There are even more mechanics to the jump, but I will leave the rest of you to explore once you get your hands on the game. After rewatching the previous devlog, I realized that I showed the cannons, but never talked about them. I thought, it's cannon, it shoots. What else do you expect it to do? Well, there are a lot of options inside the cannon class. The interval between the shots can be changed, as well as the cannonball speed and the cannon barrel's pitch. The cannonball has a strong knockback that will knock the player off most platforms. There are many types of knockback in the game that differ in strength. These are managed through the damage types, meaning that once a character or object in the game receives damage, the attack's damage type determines the knockback. For example, if the turtle gets hit by a masked spirit, it will receive a significantly weaker knockback than if it was hit by a cannonball. Thanks for watching the video. I would have never imagined that so many people would be interested in this game, and I really appreciate all the feedback I've gotten from you. If you want to receive updates on the game's development, please subscribe to my channel or follow me on my new Twitter account. As always, share your thoughts on the game in the comments below. Until next time, take care.